Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel where I dive deep into some of the most epic films out there. And today, I want to talk to you about a movie that's got this incredible blend of fantasy, action, and adventure that just pulls you into a whole new world. I'm talking about The Last Airbender from 2010, directed by the visionary M. Night Shyamalan. Now, if you're sitting there wondering whether this is worth your time, let me be your guide here. I'm going to walk you through every little detail about this film, from its origins to the behind-the-scenes magic. And by the end, you'll see exactly why this is a movie you absolutely need to check out. It's got stunning visuals, heart-pounding action sequences, and a story that's inspired by one of the most beloved animated series ever created. Trust me, whether you're a fan of fantasy epics or just looking for something thrilling to watch with the family, this one delivers on a grand scale. So grab your popcorn, settle in, and let's explore why The Last Airbender deserves a spot on your must-watch list. First off, let's set the stage for what this movie is all about without giving away any of the surprises, because I know how much we all hate spoilers. The Last Airbender is a live-action adaptation that brings to life the magical world of bending the elements: air, water, earth, and fire. It's based on the first season of the Nickelodeon animated series Avatar: The Last Airbender, which was created by Michael Dante DiMartino and Brian Konietzko. That original show ran from 2005 to 2008 and became a massive hit, blending Eastern philosophies, martial arts, and a rich mythology into something that's both fun for kids and deep for adults. The film captures that essence, focusing on a young hero's journey in a world divided into 4 nations, each tied to one of the elements. It's got this epic feel, like a mix of Star Wars and Lord of the Rings, but with a unique twist on elemental powers and cultural inspirations from Asian, Inuit, and other indigenous traditions. If you've ever dreamed of controlling the wind or shaping water with your hands, this movie makes that fantasy feel real and immersive. And here's why you should watch it. In a sea of superhero flicks and remakes, this one stands out for its originality and the way it builds a vibrant, living universe that's perfect for escaping reality for a couple of hours. Now let's talk about the man behind the camera, M. Night Shyamalan. He's the director, writer, and one of the producers on this film, and if you know his work from movies like The Sixth Sense or Signs, you know he has this knack for creating tension and wonder in unexpected ways. Shyamalan was drawn to this project because he's a huge fan of the original series. He even watched it with his kids and saw the potential to turn it into a big-screen spectacle. He wrote the screenplay himself, adapting the story to fit a feature film format while keeping the core spirit intact. His vision was to make it a family-friendly blockbuster with real emotional depth, and he poured his heart into it. The film was produced by Blinding Edge Pictures, which is Shyamalan's own company, alongside Nickelodeon Movies and Paramount Pictures. Other key producers include Sam Mercer, who's worked with Shyamalan on several films, and Frank Marshall, a legendary producer known for blockbusters like the Indiana Jones series and Jurassic World. Executive producers rounded out the team with Scott Aversano, who has credits on films like The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, and even the original series creators Michael Dante DiMartino and Brian Konietzko, who served in that role to ensure the adaptation stayed true to their world. Kathleen Kennedy, the powerhouse behind Star Wars and Indiana Jones, was also an executive producer, bringing her expertise in epic storytelling. And let's not forget Jose L. Rodriguez as a co-producer. This dream team came together to create something ambitious, and that's exactly what makes this movie so watchable. It's got the backing of industry heavyweights who know how to craft unforgettable adventures. Speaking of ambition, the budget for The Last Airbender was a whopping $150 million for production alone, with another $130 million spent on marketing, bringing the total investment to around $280 million. That's the kind of money that allows for jaw-dropping special effects and locations that transport you right into the story. Industrial Light and Magic, the effects wizards behind Star Wars and Transformers, handled the visual effects, creating seamless bending sequences that look incredible on screen. The film was shot in stunning locations to match the elemental themes. Principal photography kicked off in mid-March 2009 in Reading, Pennsylvania, where they built massive sets for villages and temples. They also filmed in Ontario, Canada, for some interior scenes, and even ventured to Greenland for those icy, breathtaking exteriors that really capture the cold, mystical vibe of the water tribes. Imagine filming in sub-zero temperatures with massive icebergs in the background. That's the level of commitment here. The cinematography was handled by Andrew Lesnie, an Oscar winner for the Lord of the Rings trilogy, who used his expertise to make every frame pop with color and detail. He shot on 35mm film for that rich cinematic look, and the movie was later converted to 3D in post-production to enhance the immersive experience, though it's just as enjoyable in 2D if that's your preference. The runtime clocks in at 103 minutes, which keeps the pace brisk and exciting, perfect for holding your attention from start to finish. One of the biggest reasons to watch this film is the cast. They bring such energy and presence to their roles. Leading the pack is Noah Ringer as the young protagonist Aang. This was Noah's film debut, and he was discovered in a pretty amazing way. He was a 12-year-old Taekwondo champion from Texas who sent in a video of himself performing martial arts moves while dressed as Aang from the series. Shyamalan saw it and knew he was perfect. Ringer's real-life skills in Taekwondo, which he started at age 10 and earned a black belt in, translate directly to the screen in those fluid, acrobatic action scenes. He's got this innocent charm and athleticism that makes you root for him every step of the way. Then there's Dev Patel as Prince Zuko, the complex antagonist who's got layers upon layers. Patel, who broke out in Slumdog Millionaire just a couple of years earlier, brings intensity and depth to the role. Interestingly, the part was originally going to Jesse McCartney, the singer and actor, but scheduling conflicts with his tour opened the door for Patel, which shifted the entire Fire Nation's casting to include more diverse actors of South Asian and Middle Eastern descent. This adds a rich cultural texture to the film, drawing from Indian, Persian, and other influences for the Fire Nation's aesthetic. Nicola Peltz plays Katara, the strong-willed waterbender from the Southern Water Tribe. At the time, Peltz was a rising star, known for smaller roles, but she embodies the character's compassion and determination beautifully. Her chemistry with the group is spot on, making the friendships feel genuine and heartfelt. Jackson Rathbone, famous from the Twilight Saga as Jasper Hale, takes on Sokka, Katara's brother, bringing humor and bravery to the role. Rathbone trained extensively in bow staff fighting for the part, and his comedic timing lightens up the more intense moments, making the movie fun for all ages. Sean Toob, an Iranian-American actor with credits in Iron Man and Crash, portrays Uncle Iroh, Zuko's wise and tea-loving mentor. His warm performance adds a lot of emotional grounding. Asif Manvi, known from The Daily Show, plays the ambitious Commander Zhao, delivering a commanding presence that's perfect for the Fire Nation's military vibe. Cliff Curtis, a New Zealand actor of Maori descent who's been in films like Training Day and Whale Rider, is Fire Lord Ozai, the imposing ruler whose shadow looms large over the story. Seychelle Gabriel shines as Princess Yue, bringing grace and poise to her Northern Water Tribe character. She actually went on to voice Asami in the sequel series The Legend of Korra, which shows how connected she stayed to the Avatar universe. The supporting cast is just as impressive and adds so much depth. Catherine Houghton plays Katara and Sokka's grandmother, Gran, with a nurturing warmth that sets the tone early on. Francis Guinan is Master Pakku, a waterbending expert whose scenes showcase some of the film's best choreography. Damon Gupton plays Monk Gyatso, Aang's mentor, infusing the role with wisdom and kindness. Randall Duke Kim is the old man in Temple, a small but memorable part. Summer Bashil appears as Azula, Ozai's daughter, hinting at future conflicts in a way that's intriguing without spoiling anything. Keong Sim is the earth-bending father, and John DeLonzo plays Zhao's assistant. There are even cameos and smaller roles like D. Bradley Baker, who voiced animals in the original series and reprises some sounds here, adding that authentic touch. The casting process was extensive. Shyamalan held open calls and scouted martial artists to ensure the action felt real. There was some controversy early on about representation, with concerns that the film didn't fully reflect the diverse inspirations of the series. But Shyamalan addressed this by diversifying the Fire Nation cast, drawing from Indian, Middle Eastern, and Pacific Islander backgrounds, which enriches the world's cultural mosaic. It's a reminder of how films like this push boundaries and spark important conversations about inclusivity in Hollywood. Behind the camera, the crew was top-notch. The score by James Newton Howard is absolutely epic. He's the composer behind The Dark Knight and The Hunger Games, And here he weaves orchestral themes with Eastern instruments like the erhu and taiko drums to create music that's both soaring and intimate. Tracks like Flow Like Water capture the fluidity of bending, while the overall soundtrack enhances the film's sense of wonder. The editing was done by Conrad Buff IV, Andrew Monshine, and Noel Green, who tightened the film from an original longer cut to its final 103 minutes to keep the energy high. Costume design by Judiana Makovsky, known for Harry Potter and the Hunger Games, created outfits inspired by Inuit parkas for the water tribes, Tibetan monk robes for the air nomads, and samurai armor with Indian influences for the Fire Nation. Every detail, from the fabrics to the colors, helps build the immersive world. Production designer Philip Messina transformed locations into fantastical sets, like turning a Pennsylvania steel mill into a Fire Nation prison. The stunt coordination by Jeff Haberstad involved wire work and practical effects to make the bending look dynamic and believable. Development for The Last Airbender started back in 2007 when Nickelodeon and Paramount saw the potential in adapting the hit series. Shyamalan signed on in 2008, excited to blend live action with CGI in a way that hadn't been done before for this kind of story. The title was changed from Avatar, The Last Airbender, to just The Last Airbender to avoid confusion with James Cameron's Avatar, which was releasing around the same time. Smart move, as it let this film stand on its own. Filming wrapped in September 2009 after 6 months of intense shooting, including challenging outdoor scenes in Greenland where the crew dealt with harsh weather to capture authentic icy landscapes. Post-production involved converting the film to 3D, a process handled by Stereo D, which added depth to the action and made elements like flying through the air or waves crashing feel more visceral. The movie was rated PG for fantasy action violence, making it suitable for families while still packing thrills. When it came to release, The Last Airbender premiered in New York City on June 30, 2010, and hit theaters nationwide the next day, July 1st, right in time for the Independence Day weekend. It opened in over 3,169 theaters, pulling in an impressive $40.3 million in its first weekend domestically. Overall, it grossed $131.8 million in the US and Canada, with another $187.9 million internationally, totaling $319.7 million worldwide. That's made it the fourth highest-grossing Nickelodeon movie ever, proving its appeal on a global scale. Markets like China and Russia loved the elemental mythology, and it performed strongly in Europe too. While it didn't spawn the planned trilogy, Shyamalan had envisioned films for each season of the series. The first one stands alone as a complete adventure. It even got nominated for awards, though some were the Golden Raspberry Awards, which are more like fun parodies for the worst in film. It won for categories like Worst Picture, Director, Screenplay, Supporting Actor for Jackson Rathbone, who was also noted for Twilight that year, and a special one for Worst Use of 3D. But hey, even those nods show how much buzz it generated. Any publicity keeps a movie in the conversation. Now let's dive into some fun trivia that makes this film even more fascinating. For starters, Noah Ringer shaved his head for the role to match Aang's arrow tattoo, and he trained in various martial arts styles like Bagwajang for airbending, which is all about circular movements and evasion. The bending forms were choreographed based on real martial arts: Tai Chi for water, Hung Gar for earth, Northern Shaolin for fire, and Bagwajang for air, just like in the series. Dev Patel learned firebending moves inspired by Northern Shaolin, and he sported a real scar makeup that took hours to apply each day. The Appa creature, Aang's flying bison, was a mix of CGI and practical puppets, created by ILM, with over 1,000 visual effects shots in the film total. One cool fact: the original series creators were involved early on, offering input on designs and story, though creative differences arose as production went on. Shyamalan even cast his own daughter in a small role as a waterbender kid, adding a personal touch. The film's marketing was massive, with trailers debuting during the Super Bowl, tie-in toys from McDonald's, and video games released for Wii and DS that let fans bend elements themselves. There was even a novelization by David Bergantino that expands on some scenes, and comic books that bridge to the series. Controversies aside, and there were discussions about casting choices reflecting the series' diverse inspirations, the film ultimately aimed to celebrate cultural fusion. Shyamalan, who's of Indian descent, infused elements from his heritage into the Fire Nation, like architecture inspired by ancient Indian temples and costumes with sari-like fabrics. This cross-cultural approach is one of the film's strengths, showing how stories can unite different traditions in a shared fantasy. And for fans of the series, it's a chance to see beloved elements like the spirit world hints, animal companions, and bending battles in live-action glory. Even if you're new to Avatar, this movie serves as a great entry point, introducing the lore in an accessible way. So, why should you watch The Last Airbender? Because it's a visual feast that transports you to a world where anything's possible. The action is non-stop, with battles that blend martial arts and special effects in ways that feel fresh and exciting. It's family-friendly, with themes of friendship, courage, and balance that resonate no matter your age. In a time when we're all looking for escapism, this film offers pure adventure, flying on giant creatures, exploring hidden temples, and witnessing elemental powers clash in spectacular fashion. Plus, with talents like Shyamalan at the helm and a cast that's poured their energy into it, it's a testament to bold storytelling. Whether you're rewatching it for the nostalgia or discovering it for the first time, it sparks imagination and leaves you wanting more. Hey everyone, welcome back. Or if you're just joining for the first time, you're in for something special today. I'm your narrator here, and I'm super excited to take you on this deep, immersive journey through one of the most ambitious fantasy adventures ever put on screen. The Last Airbender from 2010. Picture this, a world where people can literally bend the elements with their minds and bodies, where ancient spirits roam, massive creatures soar through the skies, and a young hero holds the key to restoring balance in a war-torn land. If that sounds like the kind of epic escape you crave, stick with me because I'm about to lay out every single detail that makes this movie worth your time. No spoilers, I promise. Just pure, engaging info to convince you to hit play and lose yourself in this magical universe. Let's start with the heart of it all. The story draws directly from the beloved Nickelodeon animated series Avatar: The Last Airbender, that groundbreaking show created by Michael Dante DiMartino and Brian Konietzko, which ran from 2005 to 2008. The series blended incredible world-building, martial arts-inspired action, deep themes of friendship, courage, and harmony, all wrapped in influences from Asian cultures, Inuit traditions, and more. The movie adapts the very first season, Book 1, Water, bringing those elemental powers to life in stunning live action. Imagine seeing water whip through the air like liquid silk, fire erupt in blazing arcs, earth shift underfoot, and air swirl in graceful cyclones. It's the kind of visual spectacle that makes you feel like you're right there, bending alongside the characters. And that's exactly why you should watch it. In an era full of cookie-cutter blockbusters, this film dares to create something truly original. A massive, immersive fantasy world that's perfect for families, adventure lovers, or anyone who wants to feel the thrill of pure imagination on the big screen, or even your living room setup. Directing this beast is none other than M. Night Shyamalan, the master storyteller behind classics like The Sixth Sense, Unbreakable, and Signs. Shyamalan wasn't just hired, he was passionate about this project. He watched the animated series with his own kids, fell in love with its heart and depth, and jumped at the chance to adapt it. He wrote the screenplay himself, produced through his company Blinding Edge Pictures, and teamed up with heavy hitters: Nickelodeon Movies for the family-friendly vibe, Paramount Pictures for distribution, and producers like Sam Mercer, a longtime Shyamalan collaborator, Frank Marshall, the legend from Indiana Jones and Jurassic Park, and even executive producers Kathleen Kennedy and the original series creators DiMartino and Konietzko to keep things authentic. The team included Scott Aversano and others who brought blockbuster expertise. This wasn't a quick cash grab, it was a labor of love with a massive vision. And that vision cost a fortune. The production budget clocked in at $150 million, with marketing pushing the total spend to over $280 million, making it Shyamalan's most expensive film ever. Why so much? Because the effects are insane. Industrial Light and Magic, the same geniuses who did Star Wars, Jurassic Park, and Transformers, handled the visual effects, delivering over 1,000 shots of bending, flying creatures and epic battles that blend practical sets with seamless CGI. They made sure every element feels real and dynamic, not cartoonish. The film was shot on 35mm for that rich cinematic texture, then converted to 3D in post-production to add extra depth. Waves crashing toward you, air currents swirling around. It all pops in a way that enhances the wonder without being gimmicky. Filming kicked off in mid-March 2009 and wrapped in September after an intense 6 months. They started with 2 weeks in the icy wilds of Greenland, specifically around Ilulissat, for those authentic Southern Water Tribe scenes. Picture a crew battling sub-zero temperatures, howling dogs from local villages. There were 5,000 dogs in one town, and massive icebergs as backdrops. It was brutal, but worth it for the breathtaking realism. Then they shifted to Pennsylvania, Shyamalan's home state, where they built huge sets in places like Reading. The iconic pagoda on Mount Penn stood in for temple-inspired locations. You can spot it on the poster. An abandoned automotive warehouse became massive interiors, and lakes like Ontelaunee and Beltsville doubled for journey waters. They even used an old airplane hangar for what was reportedly the largest set ever built on the East Coast. Cinematographer Andrew Lesnie, fresh off The Lord of the Rings, captured it all with sweeping shots that make the world feel vast and alive. The cast brings real fire, pun intended, to every role. Noah Ringer debuts as the young hero, discovered through a viral video of him doing martial arts in costume. A Taekwondo black belt since age 10, he trained in Bagwajang for airbending circular flows, shaved his head for the iconic arrow tattoos, and took acting lessons for green screen work. His energy and athleticism make the acrobatic sequences pop. Dev Patel, hot off Slumdog Millionaire, plays the conflicted prince with intense depth. Originally, the role was for someone else, but Patel's casting shifted the Fire Nation to more diverse South Asian influences. Nicola Peltz as the determined waterbender brings heart and strength, while Jackson Rathbone from Twilight adds humor and bravery as her brother, training hard with bow staff techniques. Sean Tube is perfect as the wise tea-loving uncle Asif Manvi commands as a ruthless commander, and Cliff Curtis looms large as the imposing ruler. Supporting players shine too. Seychelle Gabriel as a graceful princess, she later voiced in the sequel series, Catherine Houghton as the wise grandmother, Francis Guinan as a master teacher, and more. The casting drew from martial arts experts to ensure authentic bending forms, Tai Chi for water's fluidity, Hungar for earth's solidity, Northern Shaolin for fire's aggression, Bagwajang for air's evasion. Early debates about representation led to intentional diversity in the Fire Nation, pulling from Indian, Persian, and other influences for richer cultural texture. The score? Absolute Magic by James Newton Howard, composer for The Dark Knight, The Hunger Games. He used a 119-piece orchestra, blending Western symphonic power with Eastern instruments like erhu, taiko drums, and more. Tracks like the epic Airbender suite, over 11 minutes, Flow Like Water, and The Avatar Has Returned build tension, wonder, and heroism. Released by Lakeshore Records, it's been praised as one of his best, with nominations for Film Music Awards. It's soaring, emotional, and perfectly matches the film's scale. Marketing was huge. Super Bowl trailers, McDonald's toys, Wii and DS games where you bend elements yourself, Embassy Suites promotions, and a novelization with extra scenes. The film premiered June 30th, 2010 in New York, hit theaters July 1st, and opened strong with over $40 million its first weekend, eventually grossing $319 million worldwide, $131 million domestic. It became one of Nickelodeon's top earners, proving the appeal despite mixed reception. Fun trivia. The title dropped Avatar to avoid confusion with James Cameron's film. Appa the Flying Bison mixed CGI and puppets. Shyamalan cast his daughter in a small role. The bending choreography used real martial arts for authenticity. And yes, it won 5 Golden Raspberry Awards: Worst Picture, Director, Screenplay, Supporting Actor, and Worst 3D Use. But those anti-awards just add to the legend. It sparked massive conversation and kept the franchise alive. So why watch The Last Airbender today? Because it's a bold, visually stunning escape into a world of wonder, friendship, and epic action. The effects still hold up, the music gives you chills, the locations transport you, and the cast's passion shines through. It's family-friendly PG adventure at its grandest, perfect for a movie night where you want to feel like a kid discovering magic again. Whether you're revisiting it or seeing it fresh, it reminds us why fantasy matters. It shows us balance, courage, and the power inside us all. Fire it up, dim the lights, and let the elements sweep you away. You deserve this kind of adventure. If you're still with me on this epic deep dive into The Last Airbender from 2010, awesome, because we've only scratched the surface of what makes this film such a captivating piece of cinema. I'm your enthusiastic narrator here, and I'm all about sharing the passion behind this movie. We've talked about the stellar cast, the massive budget, and those breathtaking visuals, but now let's peel back even more layers. Think of this as your ultimate guide to appreciating the sheer ambition and creativity that went into bringing this elemental world to life. If you've ever wondered what it takes to adapt a beloved animated series into a live-action spectacle, or why this film still sparks conversations over a decade later, you're in the right place. By the end of this, you'll be convinced that The Last Airbender isn't just a movie. It's a bold experiment in fantasy filmmaking that's worth experiencing for its highs, its heart, and its unapologetic scale. So, let's keep the momentum going and explore the production hurdles, the clever innovations, and the little-known facts that add to its allure. One of the most fascinating aspects of The Last Airbender is how it navigated the massive challenge of translating animation to live action. Directed by M. Night Shyamalan, who brought his signature style of building suspense and wonder, the film had to condense an entire season's worth of story into a tight 103 minutes. That meant some tough choices in editing, but it also resulted in a fast-paced adventure that keeps you on the edge of your seat. Shyamalan has spoken about how he wanted to capture the spiritual essence of the original series, focusing on themes of balance, destiny, and personal growth without losing the fun. He collaborated closely with the visual effects team at Industrial Light and Magic to ensure the bending looked fluid and realistic. Think about how they used high-speed cameras and motion capture to blend actors' martial arts moves with digital elements. For instance, waterbending sequences involved practical water effects on set, like spraying hoses and using fans to simulate waves, then enhancing them with CGI to make it all seamless. It's this mix of old-school practical effects and cutting-edge tech that gives the movie its unique texture, making it a must-watch for anyone who geeks out over how movies are made. Behind the scenes, the production was a whirlwind of creativity and challenges that showcased the dedication of everyone involved. Filming in Greenland, for example, wasn't just about getting those stunning ice shots. It meant dealing with unpredictable weather, where blizzards could shut down sets for days. The crew had to transport massive equipment via helicopters and even use local Inuit guides to navigate the terrain safely. Noah Ringer, our young star, had to adapt to performing in freezing conditions while doing complex stunts, like flipping on ice while airbending. He trained for months in Philadelphia at a martial arts academy, learning not just Taekwondo, but also incorporating yoga for flexibility and meditation to get into the character's peaceful mindset. Dev Patel, playing the intense prince, underwent rigorous sword training and even learned some basic fire poi spinning to understand the fiery movements, though safety protocols meant no real flames on set. Nicola Peltz and Jackson Rathbone bonded over their sibling roles by improvising scenes during downtime, which helped build that natural chemistry you see on screen. And get this, Shyamalan encouraged the cast to watch episodes of the original series together, fostering a sense of family that mirrors the on-screen group dynamic. These stories remind us why you should watch. It humanizes the epic fantasy, showing the real sweat and teamwork behind the magic. Let's not forget the sound design and music, which elevate the film to another level. James Newton Howard's score isn't just background noise, it's a character in its own right. He recorded with a full orchestra at Abbey Road Studios in London, the same place where the Beatles made history, incorporating exotic instruments like the Chinese erhu for melancholic melodies and Japanese taiko drums for those thunderous battle rhythms. One track, The Blue Spirit, uses subtle electronic undertones to build mystery, while the main theme swells with heroic brass that gives you goosebumps. The sound team, led by supervising sound editors like Per Hallberg, an Oscar winner for The Bourne Ultimatum, created custom effects for bending. Water sounds were made by manipulating recordings of actual streams and oceans, fire by layering crackling wood with whooshes of gas torches, and air by blending wind tunnels with synthesized whispers. It's details like these that make rewatching the movie rewarding. You catch new layers in the audio that immerse you deeper into the world. If you're an audiophile or just love how sound can transport you, this film is a treat that demands good headphones or a home theater setup. Now for some juicy trivia that adds even more intrigue to why this movie deserves your attention. Did you know that the film's title was shortened from Avatar, The Last Airbender, to avoid clashing with James Cameron's Avatar, which was in production at the same time? It was a smart move that let Shyamalan's vision shine independently. Another fun fact, the massive flying bison Appa was brought to life using a combination of animatronics for close-ups, think a giant puppet head that actors could interact with, and CGI for the soaring scenes, with over 200 artists at ILM working on his fur textures alone to make him look fluffy, yet majestic. Noah Ringer wasn't the only martial artist scouted. The production held open casting calls across the US, discovering background performers who were real experts in styles like capoeira and wushu to populate the bending armies. Dev Patel's role was a last-minute switch. Originally, singer Jesse McCartney was cast, but when he had to drop out due to tour commitments, Patel stepped in and brought a fresh intensity that redefined the character. And here's a cool one. Shyamalan's daughter, Suleika, makes a cameo as a young Water Tribe member, continuing his tradition of family appearances in his films. These tidbits highlight the film's innovative spirit and the unexpected paths that led to its creation, making it a fascinating case study in Hollywood adaptability. Of course, no discussion of The Last Airbender would be complete without touching on its cultural influences and how it aimed to celebrate diversity. Drawing from the original series' roots in Asian and indigenous cultures, the movie incorporated authentic elements like Inuit-inspired clothing for the water tribes, complete with fur-lined parkas made from sustainable materials, and Tibetan monk aesthetics for the air nomads, with flowing robes designed for aerial stunts. The Fire Nation's architecture and armor pulled from ancient Indian and Persian motifs, with intricate metalwork and red-gold color schemes that pop on screen. Costume designer Judiana Makovsky sourced fabrics from around the world, including silk from India and leather from Morocco, to add texture and authenticity. There were discussions during production about representation, leading to a diverse cast that included actors of South Asian, Middle Eastern, and Pacific Islander heritage. While not perfect, it sparked important conversations in the industry about inclusive storytelling and watching the film today. In 2026, with more awareness around these topics, offers a chance to appreciate its efforts and reflect on how far fantasy films have come. It's a reason to watch. It blends global traditions into a unified, vibrant tapestry that's educational and entertaining. The marketing and release strategy also played a big role in building hype. Paramount went all out with a Super Bowl trailer that teased the epic bending battles, generating millions of views online. There were tie-ins everywhere. McDonald's Happy Meal toys featuring bendable figures, a video game for Nintendo Wii and DS where players could control elements in mini-adventures, and even a line of graphic novels that expanded the universe without spoiling the film. The premiere in New York was a star-studded event, with the cast walking a red carpet lined with elemental-themed decorations, fire performers, water fountains, you name it. Box office-wise, it opened strong against competition like Eclipse from the Twilight Saga, proving that audiences were hungry for this kind of fantasy. Globally, it resonated in markets like Asia and Europe, where the mythological elements felt familiar yet fresh. Even the 3D conversion, done post-production, added a layer of immersion that was cutting edge for 2010, making scenes feel like they're leaping off the screen. Fast forward to today, and The Last Airbender's legacy endures as a bold swing in adapting animated hits to live action. Sure, it faced criticism, some for pacing, others for deviations from the source, but that's part of what makes it interesting. It won several Razzie Awards in a tongue-in-cheek way, like Worst Picture and Worst Director, but those wins just amplified its notoriety, turning it into a cult conversation piece. Fans debated online, and rewatches reveal strengths like the stunning cinematography by Andrew Lesnie, who captured light and shadow in ways that echo his Lord of the Rings work. In the era of remakes and reboots, this film stands as a reminder of risk-taking in Hollywood. With the success of later adaptations like the Netflix series, it paved the way by showing what works and what to refine. Watching it now feels like rediscovering a hidden gem. Its ambition shines through, inspiring you to imagine your own elemental powers. We're still rolling on this ultimate celebration of The Last Airbender from 2010, the live-action epic that brought elemental bending to the big screen in a way that's bold, visually massive, and full of heart. If you've been following along, you know by now that this film is a true spectacle, packed with ambition from director M. Night Shyamalan, stunning effects from industrial light and magic, and a cast that poured everything into their roles. But let's keep digging deeper because there's so much more to love about how this movie came together. The technical wizardry, the creative risks, and the sheer scale that makes it a standout fantasy adventure worth your time. Imagine watching water twist into tentacles, fire roar like living dragons, earth shatter underfoot, and air whip up storms of dust and snow, all in a single, unbroken shot that lasts minutes. That's the kind of immersive power this film delivers, and that's exactly why it deserves a spot in your watch list. One of the coolest things about The Last Airbender is how industrial light and magic pushed boundaries with the bending effects. Pablo Hellman served as the visual effects supervisor, leading a team of around 300 artists to bring Shyamalan's vision to life. They created over 500 shots that make up more than an hour of screen time, long, sweeping takes where the camera lingers on the action instead of cutting away quickly. For firebending, they built on their work from Harry Potter and the Half-Blood Prince, using practical flames on set for the starts and ends of sequences, but the core was all CGI. Their proprietary plume tool, accelerated by NVIDIA GPUs, let them simulate massive fireballs and roaring flames that felt dynamic and personal, tied directly to the actors' movements. Airbending was all about what the air pulls up. Dust in a storeroom, snow and icy scenes, creating beautiful scattered glows and slow-motion swirls that make you feel the wind. Waterbending involved complex simulations with sculpted geometry for source and target shapes, turning fluid into tentacles or waves that crash realistically. Earthbending shattered the ground with debris and cracks that felt heavy and powerful. The key? Every element's look was tied to the character's personality and performance. Shyamalan insisted on that spiritual connection, so the effects feel like extensions of the people bending them, not just flashy VFX. It's groundbreaking stuff that still looks impressive today, especially in those epic one-take battles that let you soak in the wonder. The creatures are another highlight that adds so much magic. Appa, the massive flying bison and Aang's loyal companion, was a huge challenge for ILM. They mixed animatronics for close-ups, a giant puppet head and saddle for the actors to interact with, and full CGI for the soaring flights. His design drew from real animals like bison for the body, manatees for the rounded shape, and even elephants for how the 6 legs moved, making him feel weighty yet graceful in the air. Animators studied polar bears for the front legs' arm-like motion, and they spent months perfecting his fur texture to look fluffy and majestic. Momo, the winged lemur, got similar love, part practical puppet, part CGI, to capture his playful energy. These creatures aren't just background, they feel alive, adding emotional depth to the journey and making the world feel vast and wondrous. Filming locations played a huge role in grounding the fantasy. The crew braved extreme conditions in Greenland's Ilulissat area for the Southern Water Tribe's icy landscapes. Think helicopters hauling gear, local dogs for authenticity, thousands in one town, and actors layering up with silk underwear and high-performance polar materials under their costumes to survive the cold. Back in Pennsylvania, Shyamalan's home turf, they transformed real places into mythical sets. The pagoda on Mount Penn became a temple backdrop, an abandoned automotive warehouse and steel mill turned into massive interiors, and an old airplane hangar housed what was called the largest set ever built on the East Coast. These choices gave the film that authentic, lived-in feel, real ice cracking underfoot, real machinery in Fire Nation prisons that blends perfectly with the CGI. The costumes and production design deserve their own shout-out too. Judiana Makovsky crafted outfits that honored the cultural inspirations, thick fur-lined parkas for the water tribes, practical for Greenland shoots, flowing monk robes for the air nomads, and intricate armor with Indian and Persian influences for the Fire Nation. Fabrics came from around the world, silk from India, leather from Morocco, and every detail, from colors to textures, helped build immersion. Philip Messina's production design turned everyday spots into fantastical worlds, like using old power plant machinery for gritty industrial vibes. Shyamalan himself has shared in interviews how personal this project was. He discovered the series through his daughter wanting to dress as Katara for Halloween, and he fell in love with its depth. He talked about protecting the spirit of the show while making it his own, focusing on character and emotion amid the spectacle. The film was meant as the start of a trilogy. He even sketched rough ideas for a darker sequel with Azula as the main threat. But despite grossing over $319 million worldwide on that huge budget, the mixed reception and high costs stopped the sequels. Still, it sparked endless discussions, earned its place in pop culture, even with those fun Razzies, and paved the way for later adaptations. All these elements, the innovative effects, the epic locations, the thoughtful design, the passion from everyone involved, make The Last Airbender a film that's bigger than its flaws. It's a grand, family-friendly fantasy that lets you escape into a world of balance, friendship, and incredible powers. The visuals pop, the music swells thanks to that epic James Newton Howard score, and the adventure feels timeless. So, whether you're a longtime fan revisiting it or someone new to the bending world, give it a chance. Turn up the volume, grab some snacks, and let the elements take you on a ride. You might just find yourself rooting for Aang and his friends all over again. We're diving even deeper into the magical, elemental world of The Last Airbender from 2010. This ambitious live-action epic directed by M. Night Shyamalan that tried to capture the wonder of the beloved Nickelodeon animated series on the big screen. If you've been hanging out with me through this whole series of chats, you already know about the incredible cast, the jaw-dropping budget, the stunning locations from icy Greenland to Pennsylvania sets, and the groundbreaking work by Industrial Light and Magic on those bending effects. But let's keep the energy high and explore more of the behind-the-scenes magic, the creative challenges, and those little details that make this film such a fascinating watch, even years later in 2026. Trust me, once you see how much passion and innovation went into every frame, you'll want to grab some friends, dim the lights, and experience the adventure all over again. One of the biggest technical triumphs and challenges was bringing the mythical creatures to life, especially Appa, Aang's massive six-legged flying bison companion. In the animated series, Appa is this adorable, fluffy giant who soars through the skies effortlessly. But in live action, creating a realistic, believable version was a whole other story. Industrial Light and Magic, ILM, led by visual effects supervisor Pablo Hellman, rendered Appa entirely in CGI. No practical puppet for the full body here, though they did use a full-size rig with a saddle and head on set so the actors could climb up and interact with something tangible, making those riding scenes feel grounded. The team studied real animals to nail the movement. Elephants for how the six legs coordinated. Since nature doesn't have six-legged mammals, they had to invent a natural gait. Polar bears for the front legs acting like arms, and even manatees for that rounded, hefty body shape. The fur was a huge focus. Thousands of strands simulated to look thick, white, and majestic, with that iconic brown arrow marking. Animators tested everything from walking cycles to flight dynamics, ensuring Appa felt weighty yet graceful as he glided through the air. It wasn't easy. The lack of real-world reference for a creature like this meant constant iteration, but the result is a character who adds heart and scale to the journey. Seeing Appa take off or nuzzle Aang is one of those moments that reminds you why fantasy films like this are so special. They make the impossible feel real. Let's keep this epic journey through The Last Airbender, 2010, rolling strong. We're deep into why this film, directed by M. Night Shyamalan and packed with massive ambition, still holds a special place as a bold, visually breathtaking fantasy adventure that deserves your attention. We've covered the cast's dedication, the jaw-dropping Industrial Light and Magic effects, the challenging Greenland shoots, the cultural inspirations, the soaring James Newton Howard score, and the sheer scale of it all. Now, let's zoom in on some of the most memorable sequences, the clever storytelling choices, the post-production magic, and the lasting impact that makes this movie worth revisiting again and again in 2026. One of the things that really sets The Last Airbender apart is how Shyamalan used long, unbroken takes to let the bending action breathe. Instead of relying on rapid cuts like many action films, he chose sweeping camera movements that follow the flow of the elements. Think a single shot where fire arcs across the screen, air currents swirl dust into beautiful patterns, and water rises in graceful waves, all while the actors perform their martial arts choreography in real time. These extended sequences give you time to appreciate the fluidity and power of each bending style. For water, you feel the weight and grace, For fire, the aggression and heat. For earth, the grounded strength. For air, the lightness and evasion. It's a deliberate choice that makes the spectacle feel more immersive and less like a video game cutscene. When you watch, pay attention to how the camera lingers. It's Shyamalan's way of saying, "Look at this world we built. Take it in." Another standout element is the way the film balances spectacle with quieter, character-driven moments. Amid the massive battles and elemental clashes, there are scenes of genuine warmth and humor that ground everything. Think of the playful banter between Katara and Sokka, the wise and comforting presence of Uncle Iroh sharing tea and life lessons, or the tender mentor-student bond between Aang and Monk Gyatso in flashback glimpses. These beats remind you that at its core, this is a story about friendship, growth, and finding your place in a divided world. Shyamalan has always been good at blending wonder with emotional depth, and even though the film moves fast to fit the season's story into feature length, those heartfelt moments sneak in and stay with you long after the credits roll. Post-production was a marathon that truly polished the film into what you see on screen. After principal photography wrapped in September 2009, the team spent months refining the visual effects, tweaking fire simulations so flames reacted realistically to wind, adjusting water physics to feel more tangible, and perfecting the motion of Appa's flight so it looked majestic rather than cartoonish. The 3D conversion happened late in the process, handled by Stereo D, adding depth to flying sequences and making elements like falling snow or swirling fire feel like they're coming right at you. Sound design also got extra love in post. Every whoosh of air, crackle of fire, rumble of earth, and splash of water was layered meticulously to create a full, immersive soundscape. Combine that with Howard's orchestral score, recorded with a 119-piece orchestra at Abbey Road, and you get a movie that hits you on every level: sight, sound, and emotion. The film also carries a subtle but powerful message about balance and harmony that resonates even more today. The world of the Four Nations is fractured by war, but the story constantly reminds us that true strength comes from understanding and respecting all elements, not dominating one over the others. It's a theme woven into the action, the characters' journeys, and even the visual language. When you see different bending styles clash and then find moments of coexistence, it's quietly profound. In a time when the world still feels divided, that underlying message of unity and inner peace gives the film an extra layer of meaning worth experiencing. And let's talk legacy for a second. While The Last Airbender didn't launch the planned trilogy, Shyamalan had rough ideas for darker, more intense sequels focusing on future books. It kept the Avatar universe alive in the public eye. It introduced millions to the bending world who had never seen the animated series, sparked heated debates among fans, and ultimately contributed to the renewed interest that led to the hugely successful Netflix live-action adaptation years later. It's proof that even imperfect big swings can have a lasting ripple effect. Plus, in the age of endless reboots, this film stands out as an original vision. Not a safe play, but a director's passionate attempt to bring something unique to life. So here's the bottom line. The Last Airbender, 2010, is a grand, unapologetic fantasy adventure that throws everything at the screen. Massive effects, real martial arts, stunning locations, an epic score, and a heartfelt story about courage, friendship, and balance. It's family-friendly, visually spectacular, and perfect for anyone who wants to escape into a richly imagined world for a couple of hours. Whether you're watching for nostalgia, curiosity, or just to see what all the fuss was about, it delivers a ride that's bigger than its budget and bolder than its critics gave it credit for. Welcome back to this never-ending love letter to The Last Airbender, 2010, the live-action fantasy adventure directed by M. Night Shyamalan that dared to bring the elemental magic of the Avatar world to real life with all the grandeur, heart, and visual ambition it could muster. If you've stuck with me this far, you already know we're not just talking about a movie. We're celebrating a bold cinematic swing that mixed jaw-dropping effects, real martial arts, sweeping cinematography, an unforgettable score, and a timeless message of balance and courage. Let's keep the momentum going and talk about why this film still feels fresh and exciting to watch today, how it handles its pacing and tone, some of the most rewatchable moments, without spoilers of course, and why it remains a perfect pick for anyone looking for pure, unfiltered fantasy escapism. One of the smartest things Shyamalan did was keep the tone consistently adventurous and wondrous while still allowing space for tension and stakes. The movie never feels like it's trying to be overly dark or gritty. It's PG-rated family entertainment at its core, which means it's suitable for kids who love action and wonder, but also deep enough for adults who appreciate the themes of destiny, responsibility, and inner peace. The humor lands in just the right places, mostly through Sokka's sarcastic one-liners and the group's natural banter, keeping things light when the story needs breathing room. Then, when the tension builds, whether through a quiet moment of reflection or the build-up to a massive elemental clash, the shift feels earned. That tonal balance is actually quite rare in big-budget fantasy films. A lot of them swing too hard into grimdark or too far into silliness. This one walks a middle path that makes it incredibly rewatchable, perfect for a lazy weekend afternoon or a family movie night where everyone leaves feeling inspired. The pacing is another aspect worth praising. At 103 minutes, the film moves briskly because it has to cover a lot of ground, but it never feels rushed in the action sequences. Those long, flowing takes we talked about earlier, they actually help with pacing. Instead of bombarding you with quick cuts that can become exhausting, Shyamalan lets the choreography and effects do the talking. You get to see the full arc of a bending move, from the setup stance, through the motion to the explosive payoff, and that rhythm becomes almost hypnotic. It's like watching a dance with fire, water, earth, and air, and once you tune into it, you start noticing how every fight scene has its own personality based on the elements involved. Some of the most rewatchable parts are the quieter, more magical moments that don't rely on explosions. Think about scenes where characters are simply traveling through breathtaking landscapes, gliding over snow-covered mountains, sailing across frozen waters, or wandering through ancient temples. Andrew Lesnie's cinematography makes these shots feel like paintings come to life, with rich colors, perfect lighting, and a sense of scale that makes the world feel truly enormous. Pair that with James Newton Howard's music swelling in the background, those haunting erhu melodies mixed with powerful orchestral builds, and you get these pure moments of cinematic beauty that give you chills every single time. Another thing that keeps people coming back is the sense of discovery. Even if you've seen the original animated series 100 times, the live-action version offers a fresh perspective. Seeing the bending performed by real people trained in actual martial arts adds a layer of physicality that's different from animation. The way an actor shifts their weight, breathes, and flows through a form, it feels alive in a new way. And for people discovering the Avatar universe for the first time through this film, it's an excellent gateway. It introduces the four nations, the concept of the Avatar, the war, the spirits, and the elemental powers in a clear, exciting way without overwhelming you. You walk away knowing exactly what the stakes are and rooting for the heroes, even if you don't know every detail from the show. In 2026, with so many fantasy franchises feeling formulaic, The Last Airbender stands out because it was made with genuine passion and a willingness to take risks. Shyamalan didn't play it safe. He went big with the visuals, kept the story emotionally sincere, and trusted the audience to go along for the ride. Yes, it has its imperfections. What big adaptation doesn't? But those very flaws make it human, memorable, and endlessly discussable. It's the kind of movie that sparks conversations, inspires fan art, and keeps people debating years later. So if you're still on the fence, here's my final pitch. The Last Airbender, 2010, is an unapologetic celebration of imagination. It's big, it's beautiful, it's heartfelt, and it's fun. It reminds you what it feels like to be a kid discovering a world of wonder for the first time. Put it on, turn the volume up, and let the elements carry you away. You won't regret giving it a chance, or a second or a third chance. Hey everyone, we're still here, deep in the heart of The Last Airbender, 2010, that grand, colorful, ambitious live-action fantasy directed by M. Night Shyamalan that brought bending spirits and a whole world of wonder straight into our living rooms. If you've been riding this wave with me from the beginning, thank you. Because honestly, the more I talk about this movie, the more I realize just how much there is to appreciate. So let's keep going. Let's talk about the little things that make repeat viewings so satisfying, the way it captures the spirit of childhood wonder, how it stands up as a time capsule of 2010 blockbuster filmmaking, and why, even now in 2026, it's still the kind of movie that can make you feel like anything is possible. One of the quiet superpowers of The Last Airbender is how well it captures that sense of childlike awe. Think back to when you were young and the world felt huge and full of secrets. This film taps right into that feeling. The first time Aang steps onto the ice, the way the camera slowly reveals the frozen landscape, the soft glow of light on snow, the gentle whoosh of wind, it's pure discovery. Later, when the group starts traveling together, every new place they reach feels like a gift. Hidden temples carved into mountains, glowing spirit oases, vast oceans under endless skies. Andrew Lesnie's cinematography treats every location like it's sacred, and that reverence rubs off on you. You start looking at the world around you a little differently. Maybe the wind feels a bit more alive. Maybe water seems a little more magical. That's rare. Most big action movies today are too cynical or too busy to let you just sit and wonder. This one gives you permission to feel small in the best way possible. The performances also age really well when you give them room to breathe. Noah Ringer as Aang brings this perfect mix of innocence, mischief, and quiet strength. He was only 16 when they filmed, and you can feel that real teenage energy, the awkwardness, the bursts of confidence, the moments when he's trying so hard to be brave. It's not polished Hollywood kid acting, it's authentic. Dev Patel's Prince Zuko is layered in a way that makes you want to root for him even when he's doing terrible things. There's pain behind every angry glare, every sharp command. Nicola Peltz's Katara has this fierce, protective warmth that anchors the group. Jackson Rathbone's Sokka delivers comic relief without ever feeling like a caricature. His humor comes from love, from wanting to keep everyone safe. And Sean Tube as Uncle Iroh, every scene he's in feels like a warm hug. These performances aren't flashy, but they're honest, and that honesty is what keeps pulling people back. Let's also give credit to the world-building details you notice more on rewatch. The way food is presented, simple rice bowls in the Water Tribe, spicy noodles in Fire Nation camps, feels lived in. The clothing isn't just costumes, it's practical for the climate, layered for cold, breathable for heat. The animals aren't random, they're part of the ecosystem. Turtle ducks, messenger hawks, platypus bears, all adding texture. Even the architecture tells a story. Air Nomad temples feel open and airy. Water Tribe structures are rounded and organic. Earth Kingdom villages are sturdy and grounded. Fire Nation strongholds are sharp and imposing. Every visual choice reinforces the elemental theme without ever needing to explain it. And the score, man, James Newton Howard's music really is the secret weapon. On first watch, it's epic and stirring. On fifth watch, you start noticing the little motifs, the soft, repeating flute line that follows Aang when he's feeling lost, the low strings that creep in whenever danger is near, the way the percussion explodes when fire meets water. It's not just background, it's emotional storytelling and sound. Put on a good pair of headphones and listen to Flow Like Water, or The Avatar Has Returned on their own. They're mini masterpieces. In the end, The Last Airbender, 2010, is a movie that asks you to believe in something bigger than yourself, in balance, in kindness, in second chances, in the idea that one person really can change everything. It's not perfect, but it's fearless. It swings for the fences, and even when it doesn't hit a home run, the effort is beautiful. In a world full of safe, calculated blockbusters, this one feels like a love letter to imagination. So if you haven't seen it in a while, or ever, do yourself a favor. Make some tea, Uncle Iroh would approve, turn off the lights, and let the elements take over. Let yourself be a kid again for 103 minutes. You'll come out the other side feeling a little lighter, a little braver, and a lot more hopeful. We're still deep in this heartfelt celebration of The Last Airbender, 2010, the big, bold, colorful live-action fantasy that M. Night Shyamalan poured his soul into. And honestly, the more we talk about it, the clearer it becomes why this movie refuses to fade away. So let's keep going. Let's talk about the emotional core that sneaks up on you, the way the film quietly celebrates resilience and hope, how it treats its young hero with real respect, and why, even after all these years, it still feels like a warm invitation to believe in something bigger than yourself. At its heart, The Last Airbender is a coming-of-age story wrapped in the most spectacular fantasy package imaginable. Aang isn't just the chosen one who has to save the world because destiny said so. He's a 12-year-old kid who was literally frozen in ice for 100 years, woke up to find his entire people gone, his home destroyed, and the weight of the entire planet suddenly dropped on his shoulders. That's heavy, and the movie never pretends it isn't. You see it in the quiet moments. The way he looks at old air nomad ruins, the way his eyes fill when he talks about his past, the way he sometimes tries to run from responsibility because he's scared he'll fail everyone. Noah Ringer plays those beats so gently and truthfully that you feel protective of Aang. He's not a superhero in the classic sense. He's a child trying to grow up fast enough to carry the world. And that vulnerability makes his small victories feel huge. Katara and Sokka are the perfect counterbalance. Katara is the emotional glue, fierce, compassionate, determined to help people even when the odds are impossible. She's the one who believes in Aang when he doesn't believe in himself yet. Sokka, on the other hand, is the realist, the planner, the guy who uses his brain and his boomerang because he can't bend anything. His arc is all about learning that courage isn't about having power. It's about showing up anyway. Their sibling dynamic is so real. The teasing, the protectiveness, the way they lean on each other when things get tough. It's the kind of relationship that makes you smile even in the middle of an epic war. And then there's Zuko, the character who probably carries the most emotional weight in the entire film. Dev Patel gives him this raw, wounded intensity. Every time he's on screen, you can feel the conflict inside him. Duty versus heart, anger versus longing, pride versus the desperate need to be loved. The movie doesn't make him a cartoon villain. It makes him a person who's hurting, who's been told his whole life that his worth depends on capturing the Avatar. That complexity is why so many people connect with him. He's not evil, he's broken, and the film treats that brokenness with care. These character moments are what turn The Last Airbender from a big effects showcase into something that actually touches you. The action is thrilling, the visuals are stunning, but it's the people, the quiet hope, the stubborn kindness, the slow climb out of fear that stay with you. The film believes that even in the darkest times, one act of courage, one moment of compassion can start to heal everything. And in a world that sometimes feels overwhelming, that message hits harder than any fireball ever could. Rewatch it, and you'll notice how much the movie trusts its audience. It doesn't explain every single detail of the lore right away. It lets you discover the world alongside the characters. It doesn't dumb down the themes of balance, forgiveness, or personal responsibility. It treats kids like they're smart enough to understand big ideas, and adults like they still remember what it feels like to dream. That trust is rare, and it's beautiful. So here we are, all these years later, and The Last Airbender still stands as a reminder that fantasy can be more than explosions and CGI dragons. It can be about hope. It can be about healing. It can be about a scared kid deciding to stand up anyway, surrounded by friends who refuse to let him fall. If you haven't watched it in a while, tonight might be the perfect night. Make it cozy, grab a blanket, maybe light a candle, safely of course. Let the music swell, let the elements move, let yourself feel a little bit of that childhood wonder again. Let's set the stage. The Last Airbender is a live-action adaptation of the beloved animated series Avatar: The Last Airbender, which originally aired on Nickelodeon from 2005 to 2008. The movie captures the essence of that show's first season, bringing to life a world divided into 4 nations: water, earth, fire, and air. Each nation is tied to an element, and certain people called benders can manipulate these elements. At the center of it all is the Avatar, the one person who can master all 4 elements and maintain balance in the world. The film follows a young hero on a quest to fulfill his destiny, facing challenges from a powerful opposing force. It's a story of friendship, growth, and the fight for harmony in a divided world, perfect for anyone who loves epic tales with heart. What makes this movie so compelling right from the start is how it immerses you in this richly imagined universe. The visuals are stunning, blending martial arts-inspired action with breathtaking special effects that make the elemental bending feel real and dynamic. Imagine water whipping through the air like a living serpent, earth rumbling and reshaping the landscape, fire exploding in fierce bursts, and air swirling in graceful cyclones. It's not just about the spectacle, it's about how these elements tie into the characters' emotions and the story's themes of balance and unity. If you've ever dreamed of a world where nature's forces are at your command, this film brings that fantasy to life in a way that's both thrilling and thought-provoking. Now, let's talk about the visionary behind the camera, M. Night Shyamalan. He's the director, writer, and one of the producers of The Last Airbender. Shyamalan is no stranger to twisting narratives and creating atmospheric worlds. Think of his hits like The Sixth Sense from 1999, Signs in 2002, or Unbreakable in 2000. Born in India and raised in Pennsylvania, he has a unique storytelling style that often blends suspense, fantasy, and deep philosophical undertones. For this project, he drew inspiration from Eastern philosophies, martial arts, and mythology, infusing the film with a sense of wonder that's perfect for all ages. Shyamalan's involvement was a big deal because he was passionate about adapting the animated series, which he discovered through his daughters who were huge fans. He even incorporated elements from various Asian cultures to make the world feel authentic and diverse. Speaking of the team, the production was a massive undertaking. The film was produced by Paramount Pictures in association with Nickelodeon Movies, and it had a powerhouse lineup of producers, including Frank Marshall, Kathleen Kennedy, Sam Mercer, and Scott Aversano. Frank Marshall and Kathleen Kennedy are legends in the industry. Marshall worked on classics like the Indiana Jones series and Jurassic Park, while Kennedy has been behind Star Wars films and so much more. Their expertise in big-budget adventures really shines through here. The screenplay was penned by Shyamalan himself, adapting the story from the animated series created by Michael Dante DiMartino and Brian Konietzko. Those two original creators served as executive producers, ensuring the film's fidelity to the source material while allowing for cinematic expansions. Budget-wise, this was no small feat. The Last Airbender had a reported production budget of around $150 million, with an additional $130 million or so spent on marketing and distribution, bringing the total cost to about $280 million. That's huge, especially for 2010, and it shows in every frame. A big chunk of that went into the special effects, handled by Industrial Light and Magic. Yes, the same ILM founded by George Lucas that's responsible for the magic in Star Wars and Jurassic Park. They created over 1,000 visual effects shots, using cutting-edge technology to make the bending sequences look seamless. For instance, they employed motion capture and CGI to blend live-action performances with elemental effects, making sure the action felt grounded yet fantastical. The filming locations added to the epic scale. Principal photography took place from March to August 2009, primarily in Pennsylvania, but with key scenes shot in Greenland for those icy, otherworldly landscapes, and in Vietnam for lush, exotic backdrops. They also filmed in Reading, Pennsylvania, transforming local areas into the film's diverse nations. The production faced some challenges, like harsh weather in Greenland, but it all contributed to the authentic feel. Fun fact, the movie was originally shot in 2D but converted to 3D in post-production, which was a trend at the time following the success of Avatar in 2009. This added depth to the action scenes, making you feel like you're right in the middle of the bending battles. Let's not forget the stellar cast that brings this world to life. Leading the charge is Noah Ringer as Aang, the young Airbender protagonist. Noah was just 12 years old during filming and was discovered through a nationwide casting call. He's a martial arts prodigy, holding black belts in Taekwondo and other disciplines, which made him perfect for the role's physical demands. He trained extensively in various bending styles inspired by real martial arts: Tai Chi for water, Hung Gar for earth, Northern Shaolin for fire, and Bagua for air. Alongside him is Dev Patel as Prince Zuko, the complex Fire Nation character. Patel, fresh off his breakout in Slumdog Millionaire in 2008, brings intensity and depth to the role. He's of Indian descent, adding to the film's diverse representation. Then there's Nicola Peltz as Katara, the waterbender from the Southern Water Tribe. At 14 during filming, she captured the character's determination and compassion beautifully. Jackson Rathbone plays Sokka, Katara's brother, bringing humor and resourcefulness to the group dynamic. He's known from the Twilight series, and his comedic timing adds levity to the adventure. Sean Tube portrays Uncle Iroh, Zuko's wise mentor, with a warmth that's instantly endearing. Cliff Curtis is Fire Lord Ozai, the imposing antagonist delivering a commanding presence. And Seychelle Gabriel rounds out the main young cast as Princess Yue, adding a layer of mystery and grace. The supporting cast is equally impressive. Asif Manvi plays Commander Zhao, an ambitious Fire Nation officer with a mix of menace and cunning. Summer Bishil is Azula, Ozai's daughter, though her role is brief but memorable. Francis Guinan appears as Master Paku, a waterbending expert. Randall Duke Kim voices the wise dragon spirit, and there are even cameos like D. Bradley Baker reprising his voice role from the animated series as Appa and Momo, the flying bison and lemur companions. The animals were created through a mix of animatronics and CGI, with Appa being a massive puppet for close-ups and digital for flying scenes. Music plays a huge role in setting the tone, and the score was composed by James Newton Howard, a maestro who's worked on films like The Dark Knight and The Hunger Games. His orchestral pieces blend Eastern instruments like the erhu and taiko drums with Western symphonies, creating a soundtrack that's both epic and emotional. Tracks like Flow Like Water and The Blue Spirit perfectly complement the action and quieter moments. The film also features a theme song, I See You by Leona Lewis, though it's not directly in the movie. It's more for promotional purposes. When it comes to the technical aspects, the cinematography by Andrew Lesnie is breathtaking. Lesnie, who won an Oscar for The Lord of the Rings, The Fellowship of the Ring, uses wide shots to capture the vast landscapes and intimate close-ups for character development. Editing was handled by Conrad Buff IV, Noel Boisson, and Barbara Tulliver, ensuring the pacing keeps you on the edge of your seat. The runtime is about 103 minutes, making it a concise yet packed adventure. The movie hit theaters on July 1, 2010 in the United States, with premieres around the world following suit. It was released in both 2D and 3D formats, and IMAX 3D in select locations for that extra immersion. Box office-wise, it opened strong, grossing over $131 million domestically and about $319 million worldwide, making it a financial success despite mixed reviews. It was the fifth highest grossing film for Paramount that year. Reception has been a mixed bag, which is part of what makes it so interesting to discuss. Critics gave it a 5% approval rating on Rotten Tomatoes based on over 180 reviews, with an average score of 3 out of 10. The audience score is higher at 30%, showing a divide between professional critics and fans. Common praises include the visual effects, the faithful adaptation of the bending mechanics, and the performances of the young cast. Detractors often pointed to pacing issues and the challenge of condensing a full season into one film. But here's why I think you should watch it anyway. It's a gateway to the Avatar universe. If you're new to the series, this movie introduces the core concepts in a visually spectacular way. For fans of the animated show, it's a chance to see those beloved characters in live action, with real-world stunts and effects that pop off the screen. One of the coolest things about The Last Airbender is how it incorporates cultural influences. The water tribes draw from Inuit and indigenous Arctic cultures, with costumes featuring fur-lined parkas and igloo-inspired architecture. The Earth Kingdom is inspired by ancient China, with walled cities and green-robed warriors. The Fire Nation echoes Imperial Japan and steampunk elements, with metal ships and red armor. The Air Nomads take cues from Tibetan Buddhism, with monasteries perched on mountains and flowing robes. Shyamalan aimed for authenticity by consulting cultural experts and incorporating real martial arts forms. Bajuzhang for airbending's circular movements, for example. Production design by Philip Messina transformed sets into immersive environments. The Northern Water Tribe was built as a massive ice city on a soundstage, complete with canals and glowing crystals. Costumes by Judiana Makovsky featured intricate details like embroidered symbols representing each element. Makeup and hair teams created distinctive looks, like the Air Nomads' arrow tattoos or the Fire Nation's top knots. Behind-the-scenes anecdotes add flavor too. Noah Ringer shaved his head for authenticity, and the cast underwent months of training in Philadelphia. Dev Patel learned firebending moves, which involved quick, aggressive strikes. The film used practical effects wherever possible, like real fire bursts controlled by pyrotechnics experts, to blend with CGI. In terms of awards, while it didn't sweep the Oscars, it did get nominations at the Razzie Awards, winning 5 including Worst Picture, Worst Director for Shyamalan, and Worst Screenplay. But hey, Even that adds to its notoriety. It's become a cult favorite for some, sparking discussions about adaptations and Hollywood's take on animated properties. Why should you watch The Last Airbender? Because in a sea of superhero films and sequels, this one stands out with its original mythology. It's family-friendly, rated PG for fantasy action violence, so it's great for kids and adults alike. The themes of destiny, friendship, and environmental balance are timeless, encouraging viewers to think about our own world's harmony. Plus, the action sequences are choreographed by top stunt coordinators like Steve Davison, featuring wirework and acrobatics that rival martial arts classics. If you're into comparisons, it's often seen as part of the wave of live-action adaptations like Percy Jackson or The Chronicles of Narnia. It paved the way for later projects, influencing how studios approach animated to live-action transitions. Netflix's upcoming Avatar: The Last Airbender series in 2024 draws from the same source, but this 2010 film was the first big-screen attempt. Diving deeper into the visual effects, ILM used software like Maya and Houdini to simulate fluids for waterbending and particles for fire. They created digital doubles for actors in high-risk scenes, ensuring safety while delivering spectacle. The 3D conversion by Stereo D added layers, though some critics felt it was rushed. Still, it enhances the depth of the world's vastness. Sound design by Richard King, an Oscar winner for Dunkirk, makes every bend impactful. The whoosh of air, the crackle of fire, it's all meticulously crafted. The film was dubbed in multiple languages for international release, reaching audiences in over 50 countries. Marketing was massive. Trailers debuted during the Super Bowl, toys from Mattel, video games on Wii and DS, even McDonald's Happy Meal tie-ins. The official website featured interactive bending games, building hype. Picking right up where we left off, I'm still your passionate narrator here, hyping up why The Last Airbender from 2010 is absolutely worth adding to your watch list. We've already covered the epic world building, the visionary direction by M. Night Shyamalan, the star-studded young cast, the jaw-dropping visual effects by Industrial Light and Magic, and how this massive production came together with a $150 million budget plus another $130 million in marketing, totaling around $280 million. That's Hollywood scale at its biggest, and it shows in the sweeping landscapes and explosive bending battles. But let's keep diving deeper, because there's so much more that makes this film special, even if it's had its share of controversy. One of the coolest aspects is the cultural tapestry woven throughout. The creators and Shyamalan drew heavily from real-world inspirations to make the four nations feel alive and authentic. The water tribes pull from Inuit and other indigenous Arctic cultures, with those stunning fur-lined outfits, igloo-like structures, and serene, icy environments that make you feel the chill. The Earth Kingdom echoes ancient China with its massive walled cities, green-robed armies, and grounded, powerful architecture. The Fire Nation has steampunk vibes mixed with imperial influences, featuring those intimidating metal warships and crimson armor that screams power. And the Air Nomads? They're inspired by Tibetan Buddhism, with sky-high monasteries, flowing robes, and a peaceful spiritual vibe that contrasts perfectly with the chaos of war. This attention to detail extends to the martial arts that power the bending. Every move is rooted in real styles. Graceful Tai Chi flows for waterbending, solid Hungar stances for earth, explosive Northern Shaolin for fire, and circular Bagua for air. The cast trained intensely, months of rehearsals in Philadelphia, to make those sequences look believable. Noah Ringer, as Aang, was a martial arts kid with black belts already under his belt, and he shaved his head for the iconic arrow tattoo look. Dev Patel threw himself into Zuko's aggressive fire moves, while Nicola Peltz and Jackson Rathbone learned to channel water and weapon-based combat with heart. Now, imagine stepping onto those sets. Filming kicked off in March 2009 and wrapped in August, with challenges from Greenland's brutal cold for the icy water tribe scenes. Think howling winds and sub-zero temps that tested everyone. They built massive practical sets, like the glowing northern water tribe city on sound stages, complete with canals and crystal lights that look magical on screen. Vietnam provided lush, exotic jungles, and Pennsylvania locations doubled for Earth Kingdom villages. A fun behind-the-scenes tidbit: Appa, the giant flying bison, was brought to life with a mix of huge animatronic puppets for close-ups and full CGI for soaring flights, while Momo the lemur had voice work from D. Bradley Baker, who reprised his role from the animated series. The sound design is another layer of immersion. Richard King's Oscar-winning team made every whoosh, crackle, and rumble feel visceral. Pair that with James Newton Howard's epic score, recorded with a 119-piece orchestra blending Eastern instruments like the erhu and taiko drums. The soundtrack album runs about 66 minutes, with standout tracks like the nearly 11-minute Airbender suite that builds from quiet wonder to thunderous action. It's the kind of music that gives you chills and makes the emotional beats hit harder. When the film hit theaters on July 1, 2010, after premiering in New York on June 30th, it came in both 2D and 3D. The 3D conversion happened post-production, following the Avatar boom, though some like James Cameron criticized rushed conversions back then. It opened strong, pulling in around $16 million on its first day and ultimately grossing about $131 million domestically and $319 million worldwide. That made it a financial win for Paramount, ranking as one of the top earners for Nickelodeon movies at the time, even landing as the 20th highest-grossing film of 2010. Of course, the reception was polarizing. Critics were tough. Rotten Tomatoes sits at 5% from professionals, with complaints about pacing, exposition-heavy dialogue, and the challenge of cramming a whole season into under 2 hours. But audiences were kinder in places, with many appreciating the visuals, the bending spectacle, and performances from standouts like Dev Patel's intense Zuko, Sean Tube's wise Uncle Iroh, and Asif Manvi's cunning Commander Zhao. Some called the Northern Water Tribe scenes gorgeous, and the effects mixed praise for ambition with notes on execution. The film even swept the Razzies that year, taking home 5 awards including Worst Picture, Worst Director for Shyamalan, Worst Screenplay, Worst Supporting Actor for Jackson Rathbone, and a special Worst Eye-Gouging Misuse of 3D. It's become legendary in that way, sometimes called one of the most infamous adaptations ever. Yet that notoriety has turned it into a cult curiosity for some fans who enjoy debating it or watching it as a so bad it's fascinating experience. Here's why I still urge you to see it. Despite everything, it captures the heart of a world where balance matters, where young heroes rise against impossible odds, and where friendship can change everything. It's family-friendly PG action with themes of destiny, environmental harmony, and cultural respect that resonate today. The bending fights, even if stylized differently, deliver spectacle. The diverse inspirations make the universe feel vast and thoughtful. And for newcomers, it's a quick entry point to the Avatar lore before diving into the animated series or the Netflix live-action version. Plus, think about the legacy. This was the first big-screen attempt to bring this beloved story to life in real actors and effects. It paved the way for discussions about adaptations, cultural representation, and how to honor source material. Marketing was everywhere. Super Bowl trailers, McDonald's tie-ins, Mattel toys, video games on Wii and DS. It built hype like crazy. We're not done yet. There's still so much more to unpack about The Last Airbender from 2010 that makes it a film you absolutely need to experience. I'm your enthusiastic guide here, still raving about this epic fantasy because, honestly, once you start exploring its layers, it's hard to stop. We've touched on the cultural inspirations, the intense martial arts training, the behind-the-scenes magic with sets and creatures, the powerful score by James Newton Howard, the box office splash, and even the divisive reception that turned it into a conversation starter. But let's keep going deeper into what sets this movie apart and why it's worth your time. Whether you're a die-hard fan of the original animated series or someone just dipping their toes into this elemental world, one thing that really stands out is how the film handles its themes in a way that's accessible yet profound. At its core, it's about balance. Not just between the 4 nations, but within ourselves and with the world around us. It explores ideas of destiny and free will, showing how even the youngest characters can make choices that ripple across an entire universe. There's a strong emphasis on friendship and teamwork, with the main group dynamic feeling like a found family on an incredible journey. And woven in are messages about respecting nature and cultures, which feel especially relevant today with ongoing discussions about environmental harmony and diversity. Without giving anything away, these elements make the story relatable for kids dreaming of adventure and adults reflecting on bigger life questions. It's the kind of movie that sticks with you, sparking conversations long after the credits roll. Now, let's shine a light on some of the unsung heroes of the production, the crew that made the impossible look effortless. The production designer, Philip Messina, who's worked on films like Ocean's 11 and The Hunger Games, created worlds that feel lived in and immersive. He oversaw the construction of everything from the towering Earth Kingdom walls to the intricate Fire Nation machinery, using a mix of practical builds and digital enhancements. Costume designer Judiana Makovsky, known for Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone and The Hunger Games as well, crafted outfits that not only looked authentic to the cultural inspirations but also allowed for the high-flying action. Think water-resistant fabrics for the Water Tribe, sturdy leathers for Earthbenders, metallic accents for Fire Nation elites, and lightweight silks for air nomads, each piece telling a story about the character's background and element. Hair and makeup teams played a huge role, too. They designed signature looks like the arrow tattoos on Airbenders, which were applied daily with precision, or the scarred features that add depth to certain characters without relying on heavy prosthetics. Special effects makeup for creatures and environments helped blend the fantastical with the real, and the stunt coordinators, led by Steve Davison, who's got credits on Iron Man and Transformers, choreographed sequences that mixed wire work, acrobatics, and practical explosions. Safety was key, especially with young actors involved, so they used harnesses and padded sets to pull off those gravity-defying moves. Diving into the post-production side, the editing team of Conrad Buff IV, Noel Boisson, and Barbara Tulliver had their work cut out for them. They trimmed the film down to a tight 103 minutes from what was likely hours of footage, focusing on pacing the action while building emotional arcs. Buff, an Oscar winner for Titanic, knows how to make epic stories flow. The color grading gave each nation its own palette. Cool blues for water, earthy greens and browns for earth, fiery reds and oranges for fire, and soft yellows for air, which enhances the visual storytelling without a word. On the business end, the film's release strategy was smart. Paramount timed it for the summer blockbuster season, capitalizing on the animated series' popularity, which had millions of fans worldwide. It premiered at the AMC Lincoln Square in New York, with cast members like Noah Ringer and Dev Patel walking the red carpet amid excited crowds. Internationally, it rolled out in places like the UK on August 13, 2010, and Australia on September 16, adapted with dubs in languages like French, Spanish, and Mandarin to reach global audiences. Home video releases followed in November 2010, with DVD and Blu-ray editions packed with extras like deleted scenes, making-of featurettes, and commentary tracks from Shyamalan and the crew. Those bonus features are a goldmine if you're into film production. There's a documentary called The Spirits Within that dives into the mythology, interviews with martial arts experts explaining the bending forms, and VFX breakdowns showing how ILM layered CGI over live footage. For collectors, there was even a 3D Blu-ray version later on, though 3D TVS aren't as common now. Streaming-wise, as of recent years, it's popped up on platforms like Netflix or Paramount Plus, making it easy to access, perfect for a cozy movie night. Despite the critical panning, there are plenty of positive takes out there from fans and some reviewers who appreciated its ambition. Roger Ebert gave it 2 stars, noting the impressive visuals even if he felt the story rushed. Others praised it as a visual feast for younger audiences, with the bending effects holding up surprisingly well over a decade later. And let's be real, in the era of reboots and remakes, this film's attempt to bring animation to live action sparked important talks about representation. There were controversies around casting choices, which led to broader industry discussions about diversity and authenticity, lessons that influenced later projects like the Netflix series. What keeps drawing people back is the sheer spectacle. Picture this, massive set pieces where elements clash in choreographed chaos, all backed by Howard's swelling music. The film's aspect ratio of 2.35 to 1 widescreen captures the grandeur, from sweeping aerial views to intimate character moments. It's rated PG for fantasy action violence, so there's intensity without gore. Think elemental duels that feel like dances rather than brutal fights. If you're a trivia buff, here's some fun nuggets. Shyamalan originally planned a trilogy, with sequels adapting the next seasons, but plans shifted after the reception. Noah Ringer's audition tape went viral internally at Paramount, sealing his role. The script went through multiple drafts to balance fidelity to the show with cinematic flair, and the title dropped Avatar to avoid confusion with James Cameron's blockbuster, which came out just months before. Ultimately, The Last Airbender is a testament to bold storytelling in Hollywood. It's not perfect, but its heart is in creating a world where anyone can be a hero, where cultures blend in harmony, and where the power of the elements mirrors our own inner strengths. If you've ever felt out of balance in life, this movie reminds you that restoration is possible through courage and connection. So, why not give it a watch? Curl up with some snacks, invite friends who love fantasy, and let the adventure unfold. You might just discover a new favorite, or at least a film that sparks your imagination in unexpected ways. We're really digging into the depths now on The Last Airbender from 2010, because even after all we've covered, there's still this incredible wealth of behind-the-scenes stories, production quirks, and little gems that show just how ambitious this project truly was. I'm your dedicated narrator, still pumped to convince you why this film deserves a spot in your viewing queue, flaws and all. It's got heart, spectacle, and a level of effort that shines through in ways that make it more than just a so bad it's good watch. It's a bold swing at bringing a beloved animated world to life in real flesh and effects. Let's talk more about the sheer scale of the production challenges. Filming kicked off in early 2009, and the team didn't shy away from extreme conditions to capture the authentic feel of the world's icy expanses. They headed to Greenland for those breathtaking northern water tribe scenes. Imagine shooting in sub-zero temperatures, with actors bundled in extra layers of silk underwear beneath their costumes, which were specially reinforced with high-performance polar materials to keep everyone from freezing. The crew braved howling winds and endless ice flows, turning the world's largest island into the perfect backdrop for those massive, crystalline cities and frozen battles. No green screen could replicate that raw, otherworldly chill. Back in the States, they transformed old industrial sites in Pennsylvania, like an abandoned power plant and a massive airplane hangar outside Philadelphia, into sprawling sets. One of those hangar builds was reportedly the largest set ever constructed on the East Coast at the time, filled with detailed machinery, temples, and villages that blended practical builds with CGI magic from ILM. Costumes were another highlight of the craftsmanship. Judiana Makovsky and her team drew directly from the cultural inspirations. Fur-trimmed parkas for the water tribes that echoed Inuit designs, sturdy earth-toned robes for the Earth Kingdom with intricate embroidery, fiery red armor, and top knots for the Fire Nation that evoked imperial vibes, and lightweight, flowing garments for the air nomads that captured their nomadic spirituality. Every detail mattered. The fabrics had to move with the martial arts choreography, withstand wire work for bending stunts, and look authentic under harsh lighting. The arrow tattoos on Aang were applied with painstaking care each day, featuring subtle glow effects in certain scenes to emphasize his spiritual side. Now, the score by James Newton Howard deserves its own spotlight because it's widely regarded as one of the film's strongest elements. Even critics who panned everything else often gave the music a pass. He assembled a massive 119-piece orchestra, blending Western symphonic power with Eastern instruments like the erhu, taiko drums, guzheng, and duduk to create that perfect fusion of epic heroism and mystical wonder. The album, released by Lakeshore Records just before the movie, clocks in at about 66 minutes with tracks like the epic Airbender Suite stretching nearly 11 minutes, building from quiet introspection to thunderous action. Other standouts include Flow Like Water, The Blue Spirit, and Journey to the Northern Water Tribe. These pieces swell with emotion, making the bending feel alive and the quieter moments deeply moving. Fans of film scores often call this one of Howard's best collaborations with Shyamalan, full of pleasing harmonics, heroic themes, and textures that still hold up as a standalone listen. On the visual effects front, ILM delivered over 1,000 shots, simulating everything from fluid water whips to explosive fire blasts and swirling air currents. They used advanced particle systems and fluid dynamics in software like Houdini and Maya, creating digital doubles for dangerous stunts and layering CGI seamlessly over live performances. Practical effects helped ground it all: real controlled fire for some sequences, massive animatronic puppets for Appa in close-ups, and wire rigs for the acrobatic bending fights choreographed to feel like martial arts poetry. Marketing ramped up the excitement too. The teaser trailer dropped during a 2009 episode of Entertainment Tonight, showing Aang airbending amid an attack from Fire Nation ships. Multiple full trailers followed, and a big TV spot aired during Super Bowl 44 in 2010, reaching millions. Toys from Nickelodeon consumer products hit shelves, action figures, rideable Appa playsets, costumes, and there were even Embassy Suites hotel promotions with themed prize packs. It built massive hype, proving the animated series had a huge dedicated following ready to see it in live action. Despite the tough critical reception, universally negative from pros, with that infamous 5% on Rotten Tomatoes and those 5 Razzies including Worst Picture, the film still made a modest profit, grossing around $319 million worldwide against its $280 million total spend. That financial success speaks to the draw of the source material and the spectacle. Many fans today appreciate it as a guilty pleasure or a what-if curiosity. Some highlight the stunning Northern Water Tribe visuals, the scale of the sets, the effort in the bending choreography, and how it captures the awe of seeing elemental magic in live action for the first time. Others love it for the young cast's commitment, Noah Ringer's martial arts prowess, Dev Patel's intensity, the way Sean Tube brings warmth to Iroh. There are even defenders who point out that, stripped of expectations, it's an ambitious fantasy adventure with themes of balance, destiny, and cultural respect that still resonate. Trivia lovers, here's some fun stuff. The film was meant to launch a trilogy, with sequels planned for the next seasons, but the reception shifted priorities. In some countries like the UK, the term bender has slang connotations, leading to unintended giggles in theaters. There are reports of a longer cut that existed, possibly 40 minutes more, with different pacing, though it never surfaced, and little goofs, like a soldier in a battle scene appearing to fight thin air, add to the film's quirky legacy. At the end of the day, The Last Airbender is a film born from genuine passion for a world of elements, friendship, and harmony. It's visually grand, musically soaring, and full of cultural nods that invite deeper appreciation. It may not have nailed every beat, but it dared to bring something special to the big screen in a way that's rare. So if you're curious about epic fantasy, love seeing practical sets and effects blend with CGI, or just want to experience a piece of movie history that sparked endless debate, watch it. You might find yourself charmed by the ambition, moved by the score, or simply awed by those icy landscapes. One of the biggest pieces of trivia that keeps popping up among fans is the persistent rumor of a longer, superior cut. Reports suggest the theatrical version was rushed and trimmed down, possibly from an original runtime closer to 120 to 130 minutes, to accommodate a last-minute 3D conversion, which was a hot trend after James Cameron's Avatar success. This led to cuts of key scenes, including more development for characters, additional humor, and even appearances by fan-favorite elements like the Kyoshi Warriors. Some behind-the-scenes leaks and novelization differences hint at about 20 variations between the book and final film, with deleted content shown in trailers, featurettes, and DVD extras. While no official extended edition ever surfaced, these stories fuel endless what-if discussions. Imagine a version with better pacing, more slapstick comedy like the original animated series, and fuller emotional beats. It's part of why some fans view the movie as a troubled but intriguing what could have been. Speaking of the score, let's double down on why James Newton Howard's work is so universally praised, even by detractors. Tracks like the nearly 11-minute Airbender suite deliver heroic fanfares, powerful horns, and ethereal introspection that feels straight out of a John Williams epic, while incorporating Asian instruments for that authentic cultural fusion. Fans and critics alike call it one of Howard's strongest efforts from that era, constantly pleasing, with masterful orchestration that elevates every scene. Whether it's the swelling, flow like water for emotional highs, or the tense, atmospheric pieces for suspense, the music stands alone as a triumph. Many say it's the one element that truly honors the spirit of the Avatar universe, making quiet moments profound and action sequences pulse with energy. On the positive side, even in recent years, right up to 2024 and 2025, fans have found appreciation for specific aspects. The Northern Water Tribe sets and visuals often get called out as gorgeous, with those crystalline cities and icy landscapes looking stunning on screen. The bending choreography, rooted in real martial arts, delivers spectacle in places, and the young cast's dedication shines through. Noah Ringer's intense training, Dev Patel's fiery intensity as Zuko, and Sean Tube's heartfelt take on Uncle Iroh. Some viewers enjoy it as a visual feast for the elemental magic brought to life in live action, or as a nostalgic gateway to the franchise. In fan circles, you'll hear praise for the teaser trailer showing Aang meditating amid approaching Fire Nation ships, or how the ambition to adapt such a beloved series in a big-budget way sparked important conversations about representation and adaptations. More fun production anecdotes. Noah Ringer had only about a month of acting training before jumping in, yet his martial arts background made him a natural for Aang's agile moves. There were early casting considerations, like Jesse McCartney almost playing Zuko, that thankfully didn't happen. And in the UK, the term "bender" led to some unintended laughs in theaters due to local slang, adding a quirky layer to screenings. The DVD and Blu-ray releases included gag reels with on-set shenanigans, plus making of featurettes that show the crew's passion despite the challenges. Legacy-wise, this film is often seen as a cautionary tale of executive meddling, rushed post-production, and the pitfalls of condensing rich TV storytelling into a feature. Yet it still made a profit, around $319 million worldwide, and proved the Avatar world had massive appeal. It influenced later projects, including the Netflix live-action series, by highlighting what to do and not do when adapting beloved source material. Today, with the franchise thriving through comics, novels, The Legend of Korra, and upcoming animated films like Aang, The Last Airbender, the 2010 movie remains a polarizing but enduring piece of pop culture. So, why keep pushing this one? Because it's a film made with genuine love for a world of balance, destiny, and elemental wonder. The visuals pop, the music soars, the effort is evident, and watching it now, with hindsight, can be a fun, reflective experience. It might not be perfect, but it's bold, visually grand, and full of heart in its best moments. If you're a fantasy fan, a completionist for the Avatar saga, or just curious about Hollywood's wild swings, this is one to experience firsthand. We're pushing even further into the heart of The Last Airbender from 2010, because this movie's story doesn't end with its release. It lives on through fan discussions, lingering rumors, and those bright spots that keep people coming back years later. I'm your ever-enthusiastic narrator, still here to show you why this film, for all its challenges, remains a fascinating watch in 2026. With the Avatar universe continuing to grow, think the Netflix series, upcoming animated projects like The Legend of Aang, The Last Airbender, and concert tours featuring the original animated score, this 2010 adaptation stands as a bold, if flawed, first attempt at live-action magic. One of the most talked about what-ifs in fan circles is the rumored director's cut or extended version that never saw the light of day. Back in 2010, M. Night Shyamalan revealed that the theatrical release was trimmed down significantly, possibly to make room for the rushed 3D conversion, and key scenes were left on the cutting room floor. The single toughest cut, according to Shyamalan himself, was the entire sequence with the Kyoshi warriors. They filmed an elaborate chapter where Aang, Katara, and Sokka encounter these fierce female fighters, complete with intense choreography that took weeks to perfect. Fans have seen glimpses in trailers and a brief deleted scene on home video releases, showing the warriors in action with their fans and face paint, but the full thing was axed because it didn't tie into the third act. Other rumored cuts include more humor, additional character moments, and even Katara's necklace or deeper side stories that could have added levity and depth. The original assembly might have been closer to 120 to 130 minutes, with better pacing and more of the animated series charm. While no official extended edition ever dropped, these stories keep the hope alive. Imagine a version with restored scenes that fixes some of the rushed feel. It's part of what makes the film such a cult talking point even today. The music, though? That's where the film truly soars, and it's something almost everyone agrees on. James Newton Howard's score is frequently called one of the best parts of the movie. Critics and fans alike praise it as a triumph, even giving it high marks like 9.5 out of 10 from reviewers who otherwise tore the film apart. With a massive 119-piece orchestra mixed with Eastern instruments, the album runs about 66 minutes and features standout tracks that capture pure fantasy magic. The nearly 11-minute Airbender suite is often highlighted as mystical and otherworldly, building from serene introspection to heroic swells. Flow Like Water delivers emotional depth with broad, wave-like harmonies, while Journey to the Northern Water Tribe instantly evokes adventure. Tracks like The Blue Spirit, Hall of Avatars, and The Spirit World add layers of wonder and tension. Howard's collaboration with Shyamalan brought out some of his finest work. Powerful themes, pleasing orchestration, and a sense of epic scale that rivals John Williams. It's nominated for an award, stands alone as a listen, and many say it's the one element that truly honors the Avatar spirit. If you watch the film, crank up the volume during those bending sequences. The music elevates everything. Even in recent years, with the franchise thriving, fans have found pockets of appreciation for the 2010 movie. Some highlight the stunning visuals of the Northern Water Tribe. Those glowing ice cities and massive waves in the finale feel majestic and hypnotic, hinting at what a full, well-executed adaptation could achieve. The bending choreography, while not always spot on to the show's martial arts roots, comes across as uniquely stylized and mesmerizing for newcomers. The teaser trailer still gets love. That shot of Aang meditating and airbending as hundreds of Fire Nation ships close in is pure epic buildup. Dev Patel's intense performance as Zuko, Sean Tube's warm Uncle Iroh, and the overall ambition to bring elemental fantasy to live-action earn quiet nods. In online discussions from 2024 and 2025, you'll see fans saying it's a guilty pleasure, a visual spectacle worth seeing once, or even a piece of history that sparked better adaptations later, like the Netflix series. It's not about defending every choice. It's about recognizing the passion and spectacle in spots that shine through. More production nuggets. The 3D conversion was a late addition after Avatar's success, which may have contributed to the rushed edits. The teaser first aired on Entertainment Tonight in 2009, showing that temple attack scene and Super Bowl spots built massive hype. The home releases included making-of extras, gag reels, and VFX breakdowns that showcase the crew's dedication, practical sets, wire work, and ILM's 1,000-plus effects shots. The film's legacy is mixed but enduring. It made money, sparked debates on adaptations and representation, and proved the Avatar world's draw, even in tough form. At this point, The Last Airbender is more than a movie. It's a cultural artifact, a reminder of bold risks in Hollywood, and a gateway to appreciating the franchise's evolution. The score alone is worth the time, the visuals can stun, and watching it now lets you see how far things have come. So whether you're revisiting for nostalgia, curiosity, or to compare with newer takes, give it a go. You might laugh, you might marvel, but you'll definitely feel the elements. Let's revisit one of the biggest what could have been elements, those deleted scenes, especially with the Kyoshi warriors. And Shyamalan filmed a full chapter featuring Aang, Katara, and Sokka encountering Suki and her all-female warrior group on Kyoshi Island. It included elaborate fight choreography with their signature fans, face paint, though toned down compared to the show with just hints of red eyeliner, and character moments that added humor and depth. Shyamalan later called cutting it his single most difficult decision because the Kyoshi warriors didn't play into the film's third-act finale at the Northern Water Tribe. He wanted to save their full introduction for a planned sequel, so most of those scenes stayed locked away. Only a brief deleted clip made it to home video releases, teasing what looked like fierce, stylish action. Fans have shared glimpses online, and the consensus is that including them could have brought more of the animated series' slapstick humor and world-building flavor. Other cuts reportedly included extra comedic beats, more character development, and even Katara's necklace moment, things that might have smoothed out the pacing in a longer cut. Sadly, no official director's cut or extended edition has ever emerged, even in recent years, despite ongoing fan rumors and discussions on forums as recent as late 2024. It's one of those eternal what-ifs that keeps the movie alive in conversations. On the flip side, the score by James Newton Howard continues to be the film's shining crown jewel. Widely praised as one of his strongest collaborations with Shyamalan, earning high marks like 9.5 out of 10 from score enthusiasts. The soundtrack album, released by Lakeshore Records, runs about 66 minutes with 12 tracks that blend massive orchestral power with Eastern instrumentation for that perfect epic feel. Standouts include the nearly 11-minute opener Airbender Suite, which builds from mystical wonder to heroic intensity, Flow Like Water with its emotional wave-like swells, The Blue Spirit for tense mystery, Earthbenders for grounded power, Journey to the Northern Water Tribe for adventurous exploration, and We Are Now the Gods for climactic drama. The full track list features gems like The Avatar Has Returned, The Four Elements Test, Hall of Avatars, Prologue, The Spirit World, and We Could Be Friends. Recorded with a 119-piece orchestra, it's thematic, forceful, and full of John Williams-style heroism mixed with Hans Zimmer bombast, yet distinctly Howard's introspective touch. Even critics who slammed the movie gave the music a pass, and it's still a go-to listen for fans wanting to feel the elements without the visuals. Production trivia keeps adding flavor too. The film was always planned as the start of a trilogy adapting the full series, with sequels set for books 2 and 3. But the mixed reception, and that hefty $280 million total spend, killed those dreams. Noah Ringer was cast largely for his real-life martial arts skills. He had black belts in Taekwondo and more, and he trained intensely in the bending styles. The title dropped Avatar to avoid confusion with James Cameron's blockbuster. Filming involved extreme conditions in Greenland, massive practical sets in Pennsylvania hangars, and ILM's heavy CGI workload. Fun note, the 3D conversion was a late push after Avatar's success, possibly contributing to rushed edits. Even today, in 2026, there's a quiet undercurrent of fan appreciation for specific parts. The Northern Water Tribe sequences, those glowing ice cities, massive waves, and crystalline architecture, are often called visually stunning and majestic. Some viewers enjoy it as a nostalgic artifact, a visual spectacle of elemental magic in live action, or a reminder of how the franchise has evolved. With the Avatar world booming, new animated films like The Legend of Aang, The Last Airbender, now set for release in October 2026, featuring voices like Eric Nam as Aang, Dave Bautista in an antagonist role, and more. Ongoing concert tours with the original score, and endless discussions. The 2010 movie serves as an interesting contrast. It sparked talks on adaptations, representation, and what fans truly want, paving the way for better takes. So here's the final pitch. The Last Airbender, 2010, is a film of massive heart, bold vision, and technical highs, gorgeous visuals in places, a soundtrack that soars, and an earnest attempt to bring elemental wonder to the big screen. It may have stumbled, but it dared big. Watch it for the spectacle, the music, the cultural nods, the ambition, and to see how far the franchise has come. Pair it with the score on streaming for that extra immersion. First off, the James Newton Howard soundtrack remains one of the absolute highlights, widely celebrated as a masterpiece even by those who criticize everything else. The album, released by Lakeshore Records in June 2010, features 12 tracks totaling around 67 minutes of pure orchestral bliss, blended with Eastern instruments for that immersive, heroic feel. The tracklist includes gems like the epic opener Airbender Suite, nearly 11 minutes of building wonder and power, Earthbenders with its grounded intensity, The Avatar Has Returned for triumphant moments, The Four Elements Test, Journey to the Northern Water Tribe, evoking vast, icy adventures, Hall of Avatars, Prologue, The Spirit World, We Are Now the Gods, and the emotional powerhouse, Flow Like Water. Critics and fans alike gave it glowing praise, scores like 9.5 out of 10, nominations for awards including Best Original Score for Fantasy/Science Fiction/Horror, and descriptions as constantly pleasing harmonics with masterful orchestration. It's thematic, forceful, and full of that John Williams-style heroism mixed with Howard's signature introspection. Many call it one of his best Shyamalan collaborations, and it holds up as a standalone listen, perfect for cranking up while picturing those bending battles or serene landscapes. Even in recent fan discussions, the music gets universal love as the film's true triumph. Then there's the visual spectacle in key moments that still captivates. The Northern Water Tribe finale, those massive, glowing ice cities, the hypnotic water-bending waves crashing in majestic chaos, and the sheer scale of the elemental clashes often gets singled out as breathtaking and beautifully choreographed. For newcomers or those who can separate it from the animated series, the bending sequences feel uniquely stylized and mesmerizing, like a hypnotic dance of nature's forces. The teaser trailer that first dropped in 2009 is still remembered fondly. Aang meditating and airbending as the camera zooms out to reveal hundreds of Fire Nation ships closing in. Pure epic buildup that built massive excitement. These elements hint at the grand fantasy adventure the film aimed for, and they shine through even now. The deleted scene story adds to the intrigue. Shyamalan filmed significant sequences with the Kyoshi warriors, Suki and her fierce all-female group on Kyoshi Island, complete with elaborate fan-based choreography and warrior moments. It was meant to be a full chapter, but he cut it because they didn't tie into the film's third-act focus on the Northern Water Tribe. He called it his single most difficult decision, and even held back releasing most of them to save the introduction for a planned sequel, which never happened. A brief deleted scene made it to the DVD/Blu-ray, showing glimpses of the warriors with toned-down makeup, just hints of red eyeliner instead of full white face paint. But the full thing remains a tantalizing mystery. Fans still share those clips online, and discussions as recent as 2024 and 2025 keep wondering if a restored cut could ever surface. Though rumors of a full director's cut have stayed just that, rumors, with no official release in sight. As for fan appreciation today, even amid the criticisms, there's a quiet resurgence of positives. Some viewers enjoy it as a visual feast of elemental magic in live action, a nostalgic artifact, or a guilty pleasure spectacle. Others appreciate the ambition behind the practical sets, the cultural nods, despite flaws, and how it sparked broader talks about adaptations. In online spaces, you'll find people highlighting the Northern Water Tribe's gorgeous design, the score's emotional depth, or the young cast's effort, like Noah Ringer's martial arts authenticity. It's not about rewriting history, it's about finding value in the bold attempt. Tying it all together, this 2010 film exists in a vibrant Avatar ecosystem in 2026. The franchise is thriving with comics, novels, The Legend of Korra, the Netflix live-action series, now renewed for more seasons, concert tours featuring the animated score, and exciting new projects like the upcoming animated film The Legend of Aang. The Last Airbender, originally planned for theatrical release, but now shifted to Paramount Plus in fall 2026, after multiple delays from October 2025 to January 2026 to October 9, 2026, before going streaming. That film, directed by Lauren Montgomery with voices including Eric Nam as Aang, Dave Bautista as an antagonist, Diane Kwan as Toph, and more, continues the story with adult versions of the characters. It's a reminder of how the original series' spirit endures, and watching the 2010 movie now lets you contrast that ambitious, if troubled, live-action swing with everything that's come since. Bottom line, The Last Airbender, 2010, is a film of grand vision, soaring music, stunning set pieces, and cultural ambition that dared to bring elemental fantasy to life. It may have its stumbles, but its heart, spectacle, and place in franchise history make it worth experiencing. Watch it for the score alone, the icy majesty, the what-if deleted moments, or just to appreciate how far the Avatar world has come. The soundtrack? It's the one thing that stands the test of time like no other. Tracks like the epic 11-minute Airbender suite with its soaring, noble theme, Flow Like Water for those emotional swells, the Blue Spirit for mystery and tension, and the full 12-track album blending that massive 119-piece orchestra with Eastern flavors. It's constantly hailed as one of Howard's best, a heroic, thematic triumph that elevates the fantasy even when the visuals or pacing didn't quite land for everyone. Fans still blast it standalone, and it gets love in concert discussions years later. Fast forward to today in 2026, and the Avatar universe is more alive than ever, proving that the 2010 film's ambition, even if it stumbled, helped keep the door open for more. The Netflix live-action series dropped its first season in 2024 to mixed but improved reviews over the movie, 62% on Rotten Tomatoes, with Season 2 coming this year. And the big animated continuation? The Legend of Aang, The Last Airbender, that long-awaited film following an adult Aang and his friends discovering an ancient power to save his culture, has seen wild release shifts. It bounced from October 2025 to January 2026, then to October 9th, 2026 for theaters, but just recently got pulled from the big screen entirely. Now it's heading straight to Paramount Plus in fall 2026, with an all-star voice cast including Eric Nam as Aang, Dave Bautista as a villain, Diane Kwan as Toph, Jessica Matten as Katara, Roman Zaragoza as Sokka, Stephen Yeun, and fresh additions like Taika Waititi, Geraldine Viswanathan, D. Bradley Baker, Frida Pinto, and Ke Huy Quan. Directed by Lauren Montgomery, with co-direction from William Mata, it's animated in a hybrid 2D hand-drawn style with 3D environments by studios like Flying Bark and Studio Mir. part of Avatar Studios' push to expand the world with original stories. There's even a new animated series, Avatar: Seven Havens, or Safe Havens in some reports, in the works to follow it up. The franchise keeps growing through comics, novels, games, and those global concert tours featuring the classic score. It's a testament to how beloved the core story is and how the 2010 movie's attempt, flawed as it was, showed studios the hunger for more Avatar on screen. So, why does all this make The Last Airbender, 2010, worth your time right now? Because it's a snapshot of bold Hollywood risk-taking in adapting something sacred. Watch it for the stunning Northern Water Tribe visuals that still mesmerize, the bending spectacle that feels raw and dynamic, the cultural tapestry, Inuit-inspired water tribes, Chinese Earth Kingdom vibes, Japanese steampunk Fire Nation, the heartfelt young cast giving it everything, and that incredible Howard score that makes your heart race. It's family-friendly PG fantasy with timeless themes of balance, destiny, friendship, and harmony. Perfect for a cozy night or to compare with the newer takes. It may not be flawless, but it's ambitious, visually grand in spots, musically soaring, and part of why the Avatar legacy endures so strongly today. We're truly at the finale of this massive love letter to The Last Airbender from 2010. I've shared every possible detail, from the $150 million production budget, plus massive marketing pushing the total spend to around $280 million, to the Greenland's freezing shoots that captured those authentic, icy Northern Water Tribe vibes, the practical hangar sets in Pennsylvania that were some of the largest on the East Coast, the cultural depth drawing from Inuit, ancient Chinese, Imperial Japanese, and Tibetan influences, the intense martial arts training for the cast, Noah Ringer's black belts making Aang's airbending feel real, the ILM visual effects wizardry with over 1,000 shots blending CGI fluids, fire bursts, and air currents. And, of course, the film's polarizing legacy that includes a strong box office haul of $319 million worldwide despite the infamous 5% Rotten Tomatoes critic score and those 5 Razzies it swept: Worst Picture, Worst Director, Worst Screenplay, and more. But let's circle back to what makes this movie timeless in its own way, especially as we sit here in January 2026, with the Avatar universe still expanding in thrilling directions. The James Newton Howard soundtrack is the undisputed MVP. Fans and critics consistently rank it as one of his finest works, a 12-track masterpiece clocking in at about 67 minutes that fuses a 119-piece orchestra with Eastern instruments like the erhu, taiko drums, and guzheng for that perfect blend of epic heroism and mystical wonder. The full track list includes absolute standouts, the nearly 11-minute Airbender suite that opens with serene introspection before exploding into powerful themes, Earthbenders with its grounded intensity, The Avatar Has Returned for triumphant moments, the Four Elements Test, Journey to the Northern Water Tribe, evoking vast, icy adventures, Hall of Avatars, Prologue, The Spirit World, We Are Now the Gods, and the deeply emotional Flow Like Water. It's thematic, forceful, and full of John Williams-style grandeur with Howard's signature introspective touch, earning near-perfect scores like 9.5 out of 10 from score reviewers who say it's constantly pleasing and one of the best collaborations between Howard and Shyamalan. Even if the film itself divides opinions, this score soars on its own and captures the soul of the Avatar world better than almost anything else. Those deleted scenes continue to spark curiosity too. The Kyoshi Warrior sequences were fully filmed, featuring Suki and her all-female group with elaborate fan choreography and warrior moments on Kyoshi Island. Shyamalan called cutting them his single most difficult decision because they didn't tie into the film's third-act Northern Water Tribe finale, and he held back most of the footage, hoping to save their introduction for a sequel that never materialized. A brief deleted clip made it to the DVD/Blu-ray extras, showing toned-down makeup with just hints of red eyeliner, instead of the animated series' iconic full-white face paint. But the full chapter remains unreleased, a tantalizing what-if that fans still discuss in 2026 forums and videos. And speaking of the bigger picture, the Avatar franchise is thriving right now in ways that make revisiting the 2010 film feel like a fascinating historical contrast. The Netflix live-action series wrapped its first season in 2024 and continues strong. while the animated side is buzzing with Avatar Studios projects. The highly anticipated animated film The Legend of Aang, The Last Airbender, a continuation following an adult Aang discovering an ancient power to save his culture from extinction, has seen its share of changes. It was originally set for theatrical release, delayed multiple times, from October 2025 to January 2026, then October 9, 2026, before Paramount pulled it from theaters entirely. Now, it's heading exclusively to Paramount Plus in fall 2026, likely around September to November, with an all-star voice cast including Eric Nam as Aang, Dave Bautista as a villain, Dion Kwan as Toph, Jessica Matten as Katara, Roman Zaragoza as Sokka, Steven Yeun as Zuko, and recent additions like Taika Waititi, Geraldine Viswanathan, D. Bradley Baker, Frida Pinto, and Ke Huy Quan. Directed by Lauren Montgomery, with co-directors Steve Ahn and William Mata, it's a hybrid 2D hand-drawn characters with 3D environments from studios like Flying Bark and Studio Mir, set to premiere alongside teases for a new 2D series Avatar, Seven Havens, or Safe Havens in some reports, which follows a young Earthbender as the new Avatar after Korra in a post-Cataclysm world. Jeremy Zuckerman returns to score both, keeping that classic Avatar musical spirit alive. This all underscores how the 2010 movie, despite its rough ride, helped prove the enduring power of the Avatar world, sparking debates on adaptations, representation, and fidelity that influenced everything that followed. Watch it today for the bold ambition, the breathtaking Northern Water Tribe visuals that still mesmerize, the dynamic bending spectacle rooted in real martial arts, the heartfelt performances from a young cast giving it their all, the rich cultural tapestry, and that unforgettable Howard score that makes every element feel alive. Picture this. You're settling in for a 103-minute fantasy adventure rated PG, family-friendly, but with enough intensity to keep adults engaged. The opening prologue sets the stage with beautiful narration and breathtaking visuals. 4 nations, 4 elements, the Avatar as the bridge between worlds, and a century of war that has thrown everything out of balance. From the very first frame, James Newton Howard's score sweeps in with those majestic strings and taiko drums, instantly transporting you into a world that feels ancient, spiritual, and alive. The young cast carries so much of the heart. Noah Ringer as Aang brings genuine innocence and athletic grace. He was only 12 during filming, yet he handles the physical demands like a pro thanks to years of martial arts. You can feel his wonder when he discovers the world beyond the iceberg, and his quiet determination when the weight of destiny starts to settle on his shoulders. Nicola Peltz as Katara has this quiet strength and compassion that anchors the group. Jackson Rathbone as Sokka provides the much-needed humor and resourcefulness that keeps things from getting too heavy. Dev Patel as Prince Zuko is magnetic. His intensity, his inner conflict, the way he carries the scar and the burden of honor, it's one of those performances that makes you root for a character even when he's on the wrong side. And Sean Tube as Uncle Iroh, pure warmth and wisdom in every line and glance. These actors, most of them quite young at the time, gave everything to bring these iconic roles to life in a new medium. Visually, the film goes big. The Northern Water Tribe city, built on massive sound stages with practical ice-like structures, glowing crystals, canals of water, and layered with ILM's seamless CGI, still looks impressive today. The bending itself has moments of real magic, water flowing like living silk, earth shifting with thunderous cracks, fire roaring in controlled bursts, air spiraling in elegant cyclones. The choreography is stylized, inspired by real martial arts forms, and when it hits, especially in the big set pieces, you feel the power of the elements. The score, as we've said 100 times, is the glue. Whether it's the heroic swell during an airbending rescue, the haunting mystery of the spirit world, or the emotional depth of quieter character moments, Howard's music carries the film in a way few scores do. It's the kind of soundtrack you can put on in the background for days and still discover new layers. The film isn't perfect. We've talked openly about the pacing issues, the condensation of a whole season into one movie, the exposition-heavy dialogue, the 3D conversion that felt rushed, and the creative choices that didn't land for everyone. But here's the thing I want you to carry with you. This was a sincere, large-scale attempt to bring a cherished animated world into live action with real actors, Real locations, real stunts, and cutting-edge effects. It took risks. It employed incredible talent behind the camera. It aimed for cultural authenticity, even if it fell short in places. And it succeeded in making millions of dollars and planting seeds for future Avatar projects. In January 2026, with the franchise healthier than ever, Netflix seasons continuing, comics selling out, concert tours still selling tickets, and the upcoming animated The Legend of Aang, The Last Airbender, now set for Paramount, plus this fall with that incredible voice cast. This 2010 film feels like the brave first step of a much longer journey.